Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community.
Hello and welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition. Today is May 28th, 2024. It's episode 216. My name is Eric Peterson and I'm joined today by Mr. Daniel Garcia. How are you, Daniel?
I am great, Eric. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Crazy, it's almost summer here.
I know. My son finished up school last week and he's all excited to have a few months off.
My children finished up this week and they were surprised when I told them that I don't also get the summer off. So too bad for us.
Now with that attitude, you don't.
Yeah. Well, we want to start by thanking our sponsor, Order Solutions, the makers of all your favorite box products, including a brand new box product, which we will talk about in depth coming up.
Absolutely. It's exciting.
A few ways you can say thanks and give back to Order Solutions. Well, first we have Into the Box 2025 tickets on sale. I know you're sitting there thinking that's crazy, but you want to know what's even crazier is if you buy now, we are calling them our blind tickets, they are 50% off.
Seriously?
Seriously. So
I don't think I heard that.
We'll have that link in the show note for blind tickets to Into the Box 2025.
Should tell them when it is?
Yes. It's going to be April 30th to May 2nd. So a little bit earlier in the May month, which I appreciate because I feel like every time that third week of May, right after Mother's Day, was always school, like graduations and assemblies and dance recitals. And so here's hoping.
Actually, I think we ran into some of that too. DC got kind of busy that week, I think, with lots of graduations and whatnot.
So, well, that's a big way you can. You can also like and subscribe to our videos on YouTube, star and fork our repos on GitHub, subscribe to this podcast. If you leave us a review, we can read it on the show as long as it's appropriate.
And
you can sign up for a free or paid account on CFCast, which releases new content regularly. Buy something from our awesome Box Life store, which we should have some new merch coming out soon for our new product.
That's right.
And then finally, Ordis's books are available on Amazon and on Gumroad. You can get Cold Box quick tips and tricks. Learn modern cold fusion in 100 plus minutes.
Only 100 plus. Oh, 100 plus. Sorry.
100 plus. Yes.
The plus.
The plus is important.
No, it depends who you are. I'm sure like you could probably learn it in like 99 minutes.
I mean, hopefully I already know it, so I don't need that. But if you are needing it or needing a refresher, it's a great place to go.
I pasted the wrong thing. Can I delete what I pasted?
Nope.
Come on, YouTube. Why you gotta be like that?
Actually, I might be able to. There you go. And then finally, we want to thank our magnificent Patreon supporters. We have 50 Patreons. We'll tell you more about how you can join and all the perks that come along with that later in the episode. Okay.
You talk slower so I can keep up with you, Eric. I'm trying to paste these things.
So, news and announcements. Well, I guess we don't have to bury the lead anymore. Into the Box, Order Solutions announced box laying.
Yeah, we need a sound effect. We did not plan ahead. The audience applause.
I at least planned ahead that right now on their screen they can see the box laying logo. Revolutionize your development.
Nice.
There is so much to talk about box laying that we need to have a dedicated podcast for that rather than hey, here's the overview of news. But we're going to give you a few things coming up here in the release section, kind of going through the keynotes into the box. But if you want to jump into it right now, boxlaying.io or boxlaying.ordisbooks.com, you can jump into the documentation. This is a new JVM engine. It can run Cold Fusion code, but that's not all it can do. It's dynamic, it's modular. You're able to run on multiple runtimes. Modern syntax runs on the latest JDK. Lots to love in here. It's too much for us to go into right here on the podcast. Check out the website; it's beautifully made and put together. Can answer a lot of your questions, like why Boxling, how do I get started with it? Can I run all my Cold Fusion code?
I think and we'll talk about this more, I think, a little bit, but a big thing is this is not just another CF engine. This is
Right.
actually a language that aims to support CFML,
That's right.
among
So-
other things. But
So check that out. You can also check out if you're into it and you want to dive in, getting helping us out. It's open source. There's support options. Lots of great things to love here. So, but we're gonna park that for a second and come back to that when we talk about all the ITB releases that are coming up. And before we get to ITB, let's talk about another release that's happened. We have Galaxy Blog 3.57 released. This is the blog engine by Gregory Alexander. We have his blog post here that's kind of goes through a little marketing about why you would want to use this blog post. Looks like it supports the latest Cold Fusion, and Lucy support is coming soon. So you can check that out on this website, and the link will be in the show notes.
and so in the chat too, if you're chatting with us.
And in the chat. So yeah, Into the Box happened.
It's
That was a crazy week for us here at Ortis.
like 2 weeks ago.
Was it? It feels like longer.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
But I guess so. Yeah, we had
Huh.
our day of workshops followed by 2 days of Into the Box, and we thought we'd go through the highlights of each of the keynotes in here. So the first thing I want to say is Into the Box attendees, you're going to be able to see all these videos again on CF Casts. If you did not come, you can purchase access to those videos on CF Casts as well. And then later on in the year, last year it was in December, I believe, or maybe November, any paid CF Casts subscriber will have access to those. So let's go through the keynote day one. Do you want to take us through some of the
Sure.
highlights, Daniel?
Well, day one was all about Boxling. I just realized looking at the name earlier, you started, we got cold box, command box, test box. This is Boxling. Did we ever consider Langbox, or that just sounds silly?
I don't think it sounds that great.
So maybe it was, but Boxlang's released. Boxlang is awesome. It was a pretty big surprise for a lot of people. Now, we did have a pre-release program where a lot of people did participate, and so it wasn't a complete surprise, but there were people that were like, wow, this is really cool. It's a modern dynamic language. It works with Java interop, pure functions, immutable classes, multi-runtime architecture. And this is what we're kind of talking about earlier. Boxlang is its own language, period, the Boxlang language. Now we're going to have support for CFML. We have a compatibility module so you can write your CFML code, and we will run those CFM and CFC files and all that CFML code that you all know and love. But it just transpiles down to Boxlang. And Eric, you're more knowledgeable about that than I am.
Well,
so.
and not only that, but on the multi-runtime architecture, Boxling is split into many pieces. So the core is, I think, 6 megabytes. It's so small, and it can do all of your, basic stuff. If you want it in a web server, we have a mini server runtime. We have the servlet runtime, a command box one, Docker. You can run this in AWS Lambda. We have a Lambda runtime. So, very modular. Fit the pieces together to fit your use case. So.
Yep, and that's actually a really good point. So right now at Lucy and Adobe Cold Fusion, they only really have, correct me if I say something stupid, Eric, but they only really have the one runtime, which is a web runtime, and that's it.
And in fact, command box is under the hood, basically one long running web request that we keep listening to the input and giving you output, but it's just one long request, because that's all that Lucy knows, which is what powers command box.
Yeah. So this is really a bit of a shift in thinking. If you don't need all that web stuff, don't do it. You got your core. If you only need to do a Lambda function, just do that. It'll be a lot smaller. It'll be faster. It's really kind of breaking things apart, and you only use what you need.
Yeah. So other awesome things in Boxlang, it's event driven out of the box. So if you're familiar with ColdBox interceptors, that same concept exists in the language itself, which helps on these runtimes where it can listen to all these different events, create its own scopes, whatever it needs to do for that. So has an enterprise caching engine, scheduling and task framework. It's very well tested. I don't have the number, but I believe we're close. I don't know. I can't make up the number. Lots of
3,000
tests.
plus. Well, but I think Brad said that we actually had more tests than commits.
Yes, we did
So,
it. We did at release, so I don't know how long that will.
that might have
keep up.
changed.
So we'll see. We'll see if I can find it too. But not only all those cool things, but we have tooling to back this up.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. We have a Boxling IDE extension for VS Code. This includes, IntelliSense, syntax highlighting, step debugging, and more coming soon. This is just some awesome tooling built in for the language. I know the step debugger is huge for me. I love that, and it's hard to go back. You can get that in Lucy, you can get that in Cold Fusion, and we have it here in Boxling too.
I'm old school. My step debugging is CF dump abort.
Yeah, right. But then
CF dump abort.
once it's
Run.
easy enough that you can just do it with this extension and it just works, you won't go back.
Nice. And Jacob Beers is our kind of took lead on that extension. He's done an awesome job. He's a newer Ortusian within the last year, I think. And if you see him around, say hello.
That's right. Okay, and we built Boxlang with modules in mind. So if you need database functionality, there's a JDBC module. There's modules for each JDBC driver. We mentioned the runtimes, the web applications. Those are all modules to add these in. We have tasks and queues, lambdas, iOS and Android WebAssembly, and anything that you want to build, you can build your own modules for Boxlang.
I'm kind of excited about the Lambda stuff. I was there when Gavin and Luis and them were all working on it, and that's really cool. It's been kind of I don't want to say a pain to get that stuff going before, but with what we're doing with Boxlang, it's going to be even easier. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, I think.
So you can get started at boxling.io. You can get an installer to install it on your system. You can also use CommandBox to start up a Boxling server using the Boxling, the CommandBox Boxling module. All the docs are at boxling.ortusbooks.com. You can also try it out right now in your browser at try.boxling.io. Again, this was built on Boxling. It's running on AWS Lambda. You can see how that works there. With all this, let's put a big, red stamp. I don't know what color it would be, but this is beta, right? We finally got to release this, and I saw something with this release, which is it's really hard when you have all these pieces to build them and keep them private, but still work together. And then all of a sudden open it up. So it took us a minute, but we're getting there right now. But yes, it is in beta. Please jump on our forums. Let us know when you find something that's not working the way you should. We are actively getting this up to speed. So this is professional open source. So it is free. You can use Boxling for free. You don't have to, no questions asked there. We also have support plans that include professional support from us at Ortus Solutions, as well as paid modules like cache engines, like for Redis, Couchbase. There are also visionary licenses available for those that want to really dive in with us and support us that you can check out on boxling.io.
Absolutely. And I was going to say something really pithy about all of this. I completely lost my train of thought.
I did look up the tests.
Yeah.
The last commit had 2,967 tests. So not bad.
Nice. And yep, never mind. You already talked about it. Professional open source. We're excited. This is really exciting. And also, if Eric and I sound a little, it's because we've all been running on full cylinders the last 9 months, was it?
Yes. Yep. This was built over the last year. So.
And all the team has been, everyone's been hammering different things in different areas, and it's all come together. It is beta, but we do have a couple of sites running in production with it. So yes, it is beta, but we're working on it. It's constantly improving, and we got a lot of community members involved, helping out, doing contributions, testing, and we love it and we appreciate it.
Now, to answer a question I heard a lot, and you can find all these questions and answers on boxling.io as well. But you might have the question like, does this mean Coldbox isn't going to be supported on Lucy and Adobe in the future? And the answer to that is no, it does not mean that. We are going to keep supporting these on all the engines because we have code and clients on all these engines. So we wanted to make Boxling so that we could provide the features that customers were asking for that we weren't able to make. And because we saw a great future for this multi-runtime and parsing architecture. So, but we are still in the Cold Fusion community. Our products will be working on those
That's not going
engines
to
as well.
change.
That's not changing. So,
And I think one of the big things too, and again, Eric, you can speak better than I, but just being able to work with Java at a more basic level and interact with that is going to be a lot easier with Boxlang.
that's right. Yeah, go check out the docs in the Java interop and see how like, oh, that's I've always wanted to do that. That's so much easier. So that was all day one. Day one was all Boxlang at the keynote. Day two, we get into kind of your box products update. And we can start with Coldbox. We're in version 7 now. Features keep coming in. There's a lot of great Wirebox features this last time, like delegates and lazy properties. The Coldbox 8 beta will start later this year with a release next year. But no big features to announce. You might have imagined we were kind of busy.
A little bit.
A little bit. Same for Content Box Beta 7 coming later this year with a release next year. We did get a nice new Code of Paint to CB debugger coming soon, thanks to Mr. Scott Steinbeck.
Oh yeah.
And you'll want to check out. We have videos, public videos for both these that we'll be posting in the show notes and in the chat. You can go and see what it looks like now, but the CB debugger really is taking a step up into its own little APM.
Yep. And I think in the keynote we even said Scott Steinbeck should not be known as the CB debugger guy.
There's got to be a better nickname than that. I mean, it's good, but there's got to be something funny.
Maybe we'll work on it.
Debugger dude.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah. Okay. Command Box Pro was announced and released this last year. You get multi-site support with that. So if you've ever needed to have one Command Box installation that multiple people can access on their different sites, that's in there. We have new Iron Bake Docker images, which are locked down and secured for those use cases that need that. We had CBWire v4 launched as well. I put a couple notes on things that it came out with. I wish Grant was here to talk about it.
I think Grant's traveling this week.
Well, good for him. Things like lazy loading, executing JavaScript from your template, streaming responses, smaller and faster, and a lot more. Launched with CBWire version 4.
Can you go back to Command Box for a second? Did you
Sure
mention
can.
did you mention the Windows installer, Eric?
I did not mention the Windows installer. That is your baby, isn't it?
There's a Windows installer for Command Box out there right now. Actually, it will be out there. It's done. It's tested. I've had some people test it with me. Basically, if you download the installer in Windows, run it, it's going to kind of install everything you need with some preset best practices, especially if you want to have a single installation of all your Command Box home assets. We support that as well. I need to get the link on the website. That's my to-do this week. We did some testing. George Murphy helped do some testing with it. So yeah, I'm happy with it. You got to learn a new tool.
Yeah, I think I just saw the word Windows and just skipped over it mentally. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Eric, we also have, we did not mention it, but we also have a Windows Boxling installer as well, along with all the others. So
we do. We have installers for all the systems in there. So
oh yeah, here we go. Modules.
The Eric Show. The Eric Show, yes. With not all my modules, but a lot of my modules.
Most of them.
Okay, they're all mine. Sorry.
Like, which one isn't yours? I'm looking.
QB, quick, keep getting great updates. Hyper, best way to do your HTTP requests. Now with fake requests and retries built in. CBQ got a major update. That's our queuing library. More stable now. The Vite plugin exists for your JavaScript needs, so you can easily combine Vite and Coldbox. It's kind of the successor to Coldbox Elixir, but for Vite. Megaphone is our notifications library. It now has Slack support. You can build out really nifty Slack messages using like a block kit. And we launched CB Security Passkeys. So if you're using CB Security on one of your sites, you can install this module, do a little bit of configuration, and now your website can let you register and log in using passkeys.
Nice. Will it work on my Windows machine, Eric?
Will it work on what?
Will it work on my Windows box?
I assume it will. Thanks to the power of the web, it doesn't actually matter. So, lots of stuff. We posted into the chat the links to those keynotes. You can watch all of those. Day 1 and day 2 is free for everybody, and we'll have those in the show notes as well.
Yep, and it's really quick into the box. It was a great week. The weather, a couple of days it rained, which is kind of not as good, but it was a beautiful. DC is a cool place, and it was a little bit of a walk to the hotel, to the venue, the Optica where we had it. Really modern, very nice. Everything was just as an attendee as well as a presenter. I thought it was a really nice venue. I'm excited to go back there. I know even just like walking around DC just was kind of cool, walking to and fro. And I think Thursday morning, Charlie Earhart and I walked from the hotel to the venue, and Charlie's from that area, and he was giving me cool little factoids about this and that. And it was really nice. It was nice hanging out with him and seeing everybody, and it's great. Sorry you weren't there, Eric. Hopefully next year, timing will work out better.
I think it will next year. So I did miss it. It is. I lived in DC for a while, so I was really sad not to come. So
I know we announced DC. You're the first one to be like, "This is awesome. This is great." Oh, shoot, I can't go.
Yeah. So, one thing on Into the Box 2025, we have announced it is in DC again. We don't know if it's going to be at Optica again, but it is in DC. So
that's true. Maybe I misspoke there. I just thought the we had this year was really nice.
Yes. So grab your tickets for 2025, but wait on the hotel.
Yes.
All right. Whew. That's a lot of releases.
That was a lot. It was a big week.
For our webinars, meetups, and workshop section, let's point you to those Into the Box keynotes again. Great watching, and you can get a much deeper dive into these features than we just did in our quick, breathless introduction. Same with CF Casts, coming soon. All those Into the Box 2024 videos. Again, if you're an attendee, you will get access for free. If you were not an attendee, whether you are a paid subscriber or not, those videos are premium until the end of the year, and you can pay for access right away, or you can wait until the end of the year when they will become available for everybody. Every paid subscriber.
Yes.
So, all right, let's talk about some conferences.
Okay, well,
I know we just did one, but Europe's got some stuff cooking.
Oh yes, CF Camp 2024. Last year was the first one in a while since COVID, and they're back in Munich, Germany. 2024 dates are June 13th to 14th. Let's get some links up there. I'll get those up there if we want to talk. Now, did you go last year, Eric?
I did go last year. Yes.
Are you going this year?
I am not making it this year. Again, timing just didn't work out on this one. So, really great. It's only 2 weeks away. You can check out their tickets. They announced a couple more sessions because, surprise, surprise, Ordis is coming to talk about box laying. And there's one more box laying talk. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Somebody also talking about box laying. No, it's not just Nortussian.
Yeah, it's Kai Koenig. He's talking about box laying versus the world, kind of going over, all right, here's box laying. Why would I use it over Adobe or Lucy? So,
yep.
Is it just a clone?
Well, it's kind of funny. They had to wait to make those announcements because they had to wait for us to announce. And so once we announced, I think like that day, their sessions got updated with, hey, guess what, guys? Come to CF Camp for more box laying talk.
Yeah, we are holding up their sessions. So it's going to be a great conference. We'll have some great Artusians there, and I'll always love that conference. So
yep, I think Luis and Brad will be there. I'm pretty sure.
They're giving a talk together, so yeah, hopefully. Okay, next CF Summit West in Las Vegas. You can go sign up now. This is September 30th and October 1st for the conference, October 2nd for the certification. It's at the Resorts World, which is a new venue there in Vegas.
Yeah, this is a little bit, about, I don't know how many blocks. It's a little bit further up or down. I don't know which direction's which, but it's moved. The Mirage is getting redone to be the Hard Rock Hotel, and they had to move from there. Talking to Mark Takata, he was talking about how this is a really awesome venue. How they're really a lot of hotels are like gambling and then conferences, and kind of sound like this hotel is more like conference focused, and then other stuff they do. So it should be a nicer environment as well.
There you go. So, I mean, you can't beat the ticket prices for CF Summit. Thank you, Adobe. $99 for the conference, $200 if you want the certification training as well. So, and if you're a previous attendee, you might even have a coupon code for better pricing in your email. So go check that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they really do a lot to try and subsidize this and make it easy for people to come out.
Their call for speakers is still open, I believe. I'm going to click on the link right now to double check. It is.
Oh, it is. I submitted this morning.
So I need to submit some. This is such a close one for me. I feel like I have to try to make it.
You could just like drive there, Eric.
I could 6 hours. So
last
last time
4 hours at an airport or drive 6 hours.
I know, right? So, anyways, they also have a low room rate, $105 plus taxes per day for attendees. You can check that out again on their website. We'll put the links in the show notes and in the chat. Ortis, we're planning to do a workshop. We're getting all that together right now, location and topic. So we'll announce that when the details become available. And then, as we said, Into the Box 2025 in Washington, D.C., April 30th through May 2nd next year. You can get 50% off your blind tickets right now. So if you know that you always come to Into the Box, you can save a lot of money right now. And finally, if you need any more conferences, if this is not enough for you, comps.tech, you can go and filter and find the conferences that you are interested in.
I'm looking here. Does that 50% off also include the workshop day?
No, I don't believe so. I believe this is just the ticket. And if you do buy the blind ticket and later you want to add a workshop, like we will make that work with you. So
actually, it looks like you can do a blind ticket workshop and conference for $349.50, or just the blind ticket only conference for $249.50.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, they do have a. Yeah. Of course, we don't know what those workshops are going to be yet, but
hence the name Blind Ticket.
I know I did a workshop with John Clausen this year, and it was fun. I like working with John. I learned a lot. I'm like I'm presenting, but I'm also taking notes of what John's saying.
Well, how about we go through the blogs, tweets, and videos? Do we call them tweets anymore? Should we change that to posts?
Is that what Elon wants us to call them?
I really don't care what he wants to call them. What are they now?
X's, tweets,
posts. One of these days we'll have to start looking on threads too for all these things. Does threads have hashtags? I don't know.
How about for something posts formerly known as tweets and videos of the week?
Anyways, all right. Enough of us talking through that. First up, we have a blog post by Robert Zenter. He is the maker of Command Box Static Generator, tidying up HTML with JSoup Part 2. He had a follow-up blog post a few weeks before this talking about how he would use JSoup to tidy up the HTML. He felt like he didn't do a great job explaining it, so this was his second attempt. So again, static site generators, making HTML, and then he wanted to clean it up with the indentation using JSoup, because JSoup's aware of what HTML is. It's not going to like de-indent pre-tags that are supposed to look exactly like they're supposed to, things like that. So that's what this one is. You can go ahead and check that out.
I'm gonna check it out. I keep saying you gotta check out the static site generator.
I know.
And things come up, and
I'm with you. Whenever I think like I need a blog, I think, and I could use Command Box SSG, and then I don't make the blog. So
yeah.
He has a follow-up blog post a couple days later The title is The Law of Unintended Consequences. So it turns out his generator was trying to clean up all files, and JSoup will happily take other files that aren't HTML and wrap them in HTML tags and say, there you go, I did it. And so he goes through his work on what he gets from command box and what he can see to determine if he should format the file. Some neat stuff there. So if nothing else, reading this is a great way to go look into how to build an awesome command box module. So it's kind of a command box dev diary.
Yeah, Eric, you should read that.
I should.
I kid. You want to see awesome command box modules? Go look at Eric's stuff. If only he had a blog. You should look at Static Site Generator, Eric.
One of these days, when I'm less busy, haha.
So it's 2026, we'll say.
All right. We have a Ben corner here. But before we get to the Ben corner here, let's reorder some of these. Let's talk about a security vulnerability that was announced if you are using Mira or Masa. So this one, the headline confused me because it's called Hacking Apple. And I'm like, what does Apple have to do with this? Well,
Everything.
Apple's a big company, and they have a Mira/Masa site there. It's their like book travel portal. It's probably
really?
only internal or something like that, right? Because I've never gone to travel.apple.com. Is that what? Booktravel.apple.com. So, anyways, as you might guess, when you get down to it, it was a SQL injection thing where some of the code inside Mira/Masa was not properly parammed. But it's really interesting to go through because not only do they, hey, it's SQL injection, but they go through each step of discovering where the attack vector was, looking through the code, hitting JSON endpoints, and figuring out how to kind of force it the way they wanted. So it's an interesting thing. Masa already patched. You're all good there if you're on the latest. Mira has not responded. It's been over 90 days, and so they released this. Right, that's the reporting deadline. So maybe reach out to Mira if you're on Mira, or figure out a different option like patching it yourself.
Well, reach out to Masa, and I'm sure they can also help you patch that, even if you already use Mira.
So, yep. But now let's jump into the Ben corner. The Ben corner this month was almost all about SQL and SQL connection strings, SQL serialization, SQLite. So how about you take us through the first couple there?
Oh man, pasting links. Let's see here. You know what? I did not read this one. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'll jump in. I got you.
You got me.
All right. The first one we're going to look at is deserialization. Where does serialization and deserialization belong in the database access workflow? If you followed along with Ben's posts over the years, you know that his typical structure has a gateway, which is responsible for like interacting with SQL, and a service, which is responsible more for like the objects, right? The service wouldn't know or care what you're doing on the gateway level, if it's a database, if it's to a flat file, if it's ORM, whatever. And so the question was, when I'm serializing data, where should it go? So you can take a look and see what he thinks about it. Again, this is really just an opinion article, right?
Well, technically, they're all opinion articles.
Technically, you're right. So it's a balance. And he asked at the end, like, okay, so this was serialization. What about encryption? Would encryption be the same thing? So give it a read and see if what you think lines up with him or if it changes your mind.
Yep. The next one, he's playing around with SQLite, JDBC connections, and Lucy. It's something it's been around, 25 years, I think, SQLite. He's never really played with it. And he's like, you know what? Let's try it. Let's see if it works. Because with SQLite, you don't have to install a separate RDBMS or anything like that, or you can just, use it.
Yeah, because it's just in files. I think really for me, I know the biggest hurdle has been there's no built-in driver support for SQLite. I think Lucy might have an extension. For Adobe, you always had to like drop the jars in the folders, right, to get it to work. And so that's always been like, I won't use SQLite. It takes too much work.
Yeah, but wait, And don't a lot of mobile apps use SQLite
Oh yeah, like I know iOS
all the time?
apps, you have, access to a SQLite. You can make SQLite files and they have a wrapper around it. So yeah. SQLite can handle like millions of rows too. So like for a lot of cases, it's fine. You don't need an actual database server for your application, but check what always measure twice, cut once, right? But you can see how to set it up, how to set up the connection strings. By default, you're pointing to a file, and that has all your data, which also you can then read into other applications, which is pretty cool. He follows up by talking about creating on-the-fly data source connections in Lucy. This is a fun Lucy feature and something you can do in command box, which is when you use a CF query tag, query execute data source property, you can pass, instead of a string that's the name of the data source, you can pass a struct, which is all the details that you need, connection string, host, password, username, and it will create it on the fly and then use it for that query. So
I like that he was talking about he actually read the command box book by Ortis to see some of the stuff.
I use that for CF migrations or command box migrations. When you have your CF migrations.json file and it reads all that data, makes that data source, and then uses it for the rest of the requests.
Ah,
so
I didn't think I realized that. Okay,
yeah.
nice.
And the final one no, there's two more.
No,
Sorry.
there's more. But wait, there's more.
Final two, we talked about. Ben talks about creating an in-memory SQLite database. So by default, you're pointing to a file that exists on your file system. You can also point to a special memory location in your JDBC string, and that will keep everything in memory, right? And so as soon as the JDBC driver is unloaded, your server's restarted, you lost all that, but could fit your use case. So he goes into that and where he would use an in-memory database, how to have multiple, things like that. And finally, I thought this one was the most interesting, personally. He talks about experimenting with low-level SQLite access, and I don't think this is actually SQLite specific, but it was more experimenting with using the Java SQL classes. So I would go out and venture to guess that 99% of Cold Fusion developers have never felt like dealing with anything in the Java SQL package.
Deal.
Because query execute and CF query do this for you, right? But if you're wondering what's happening under the hoods or what could be happening under the hoods, you can check out Ben's post here. And the reason I found it so interesting is one of the things I personally worked on Boxling a lot with some others, most notably Michael Boren. We worked on the JDBC portion, creating queries, query execute, CF query. And so we did all this. We did all this going into Java SQL. And when they pass in a string with question marks, I need to find that and match it up to the params. And because the API for Java SQL is very different than you might expect. When you set params, you need to know the type and you need to know the position. So you're passing in index positions, which are one-based in Java. It's the weirdest one-based thing ever, right? Everything else is zero-based, but SQL string positions are one-based. So anyways, it's all in here in this blog post too. Or you could jump to the Boxling source code and see how we handled it, right? It is open source. You can do that.
Absolutely.
There's a pending query class that you can go check out. So
okay. So want to give a shout out to Luis in the chat. He was going to try and join us today, but he got caught up with some things. So that Luis, always busy.
Making sure we're working and doing good.
And while he writes documentation and programs 5 new features.
That's right. Documentation-driven development.
DDD. He said, yes, it's exactly what he's doing. He's like, Eric, he wants you to take a look at Jira ticket. Oh, wait, never mind. Okay, we got one more blog post from Robert Zender. It is talking about how to get started working with Boxlang. which he launched like the day after we announced. Of course, I think he was in our pre-release program, so he was kind of playing with it. Actually, Luis did say BI82, Eric. That one's for you.
Oh, no.
It's easy to start working with Boxling. We posted the link to his blog. When you go through, he kind of shows how to get started up and running with the server, set up your web root, and start playing. So yeah, a lot of community members are really excited for what we're doing here.
And let's take a moment to thank everybody who did come out and participate in the pre-release program. Your feedback was invaluable. It helped us finish the biggest gaps and know the directions we should take this. We are very grateful for all of your help and support, and we're excited for it here in the release as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're doing this not just for us, but we're doing it for everybody. And the more you're helping, asking good questions, asking bad questions, those bad questions are sometimes really good questions. Sometimes we don't think about things a certain way, and you do, and that's great. So we love it. We appreciate you. And like Eric said, thank you. If Luis was here, he'd say, gracias, amigos.
We made it through the blog post. Woo! Now let's talk about finding a job. Over on getcfmljobs.com, there are over 126 Cold Fusion positions from 79 companies across 53 locations in 5 countries.
Okay, we got full-time AWS and Cold Fusion full stack developer for Guidehouse in New York, New York. I have no idea why I put on an accent for that, but
No,
I did.
me neither.
Well, I'll paste that link. We got another full-time Cold Fusion developer 1 for Precise Software Solutions Incorporated. It's remote positioned, dated posted May 9th. And then there's a full-time senior web developer Cold Fusion in Regal Medical Group in Northridge, California. That was posted May 17th. So 3 jobs out there. Also, if you checked out their site, there's also a jobs channel in the CFML Slack team. There's also in the Box Slack team now too. There's a jobs channel. Go in there, check things out. And I will post those jobs as well.
Awesome. Let's jump into our Forge Box and VS Code modules of the week. As you might have guessed, they're going to be about Boxling. So the first one is the Command Box Boxling module. So this is a module to help get Boxling running in Command Box 6. Mostly working around some things that haven't been patched in Command Box yet. So you install Command Box. They will be. You install Command Box Boxling, and then when you server start, you can pass in a CF engine of Boxling to get that going. Just remember to also set your Java version. We are targeting the latest LTS, so Java OpenJDK 21, and you can pass it in as your Java version. And then you're up and running with Boxling. So what that does for you is it's letting you specify like BXM files and BXS files, which is the Boxling markup and Boxling script. Without that, you could still use it in Cold Fusion parsing, right, with CFMs and well, there's no CFSs.
CFCs.
But the web server wouldn't serve any BXM files, so that's not what we want. We want this to work with Boxling, so that's why you need this module.
To reiterate, it does require Command Box 6.
Yes.
So please update, because lots of cool things in Command Box 6 anyway, but this is just yet another one of them.
And the VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week is the Boxlang extension for VS Code. This has a built-in Boxlang runtime that you can use. It comes with a debugger, a web server you can launch. Boxlang has support to execute files as is, so BXS files, those are the Boxlang script files, or even BX classes that have a main method. You can just execute them right away.
That sounds sounds kind of dark, Eric.
What's that?
Sounds kind of dark. You can just execute them. How about you can just run them right away?
Sure, we can say run.
You just kill them.
It includes language support for Boxlang, so that's your syntax highlighting. We also have an alpha version of our language server integration. If you've used other extensions for maybe bigger languages like Java, C#, JavaScript, you'll see how the language server can give you things like find this method. I'm at a method call. Give me the method definition. It knows exactly where to jump. Find me all the usages of this. Let me rename them across this whole project. and it does that based on knowing where it is, not just by here's the string. So,
And Eric, if you look at direct your attention to the chat, Luis is also giving us some key points to talk about.
yeah, Luis has joined the podcast, but just in text mode. So, all this comes with support of existing CFML functionality. So you still get your CFML highlighting. We're working on those same kind of things for CFML. If you're running on a Boxlink server, your CFML code can be debugged, right? Things like that. So install it now. That's VS Code Boxlang.
Yep. And I'm going to point out to the chat, he says, and a debugger. Oh, yeah. And a debugger. The tech support for CFML 2, debugger for CFML templates 2.
Yeah.
So here there's a debugger.
I think we've talked about it on this podcast before, but it bears repeating. If you're like most of us, myself included, that most of your development is dump and abort, a debugger is so incredible because you can stop early and just step in until you see the problem. You can hover over a variable and see the value of the variable at that moment instead of having to add a new dump and go again, right?
And from what I understand, too, people have attempted cold fusion debuggers in the past and like this, and they've never quite worked right. But this one does, and it's easy.
There are some good debuggers out there. I know Lucy has a Lucy debugger by, was it Software Cobbler? I think is his name on GitHub. And it's good. There is some friction getting it going, where you have to start your server with the right Java agents and things like that. Well, since we're in charge of both the runtime and the extension, we're making that much easier for you. So
yep. And one thing about us, you know us, we want to make it easy to learn about it and to debug it and write tests for it.
So, alrighty, we're at the end, and we need to talk about our Patreon supporters, our magnificent Patreon supporters.
Magnificent.
How about you tell us about some of the perks that come along with being a Patreon supporter?
Absolutely. So these individuals are personally supporting our open source initiatives to do all our great tools like Command Box, Forge Box, Code Box, Content Box, Test Box, and Boxlang.
Woo!
And by their support, we keep getting the continuous development these tools need. Their contributions also fund the cloud infrastructure our community site relies on, like ForgeBox and our package management with Command Box. And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/solutions. And Luis is asking us to also mention again, we did earlier, but we'll mention again, we do have a Boxlang Visionary license available. If you want, you believe in us like we believe in you, and you want to be a visionary.
So I'm going to take the moment to switch over to the Boxlang site, and you can. Oh, that's.
Oh my! That's your shopping list, Eric. Eggs, milk.
It's pointing at the wrong screen. Let me figure out how to get this over there. Sorry, everybody. I did something.
Vamp.
And it's just too big. We're doing it live. There we go. Okay. Sorry, Gavin. Here we go. Boxlang licenses. So open source, this is free forever, right? You get all the features, you get community support.
I don't see your screen, Eric.
You don't see my screen?
I don't. I see you, which I'm okay with, but I don't see your screen, which is, I think, is your intention.
It is my intention. It's supposed to be. Okay. Well, we'll just talk about it. We'll do it.
This is if you go to the plan link on the website, and I'll post that at least.
Boxlang.io/plans. The Boxlang Plus is our subscription professional license. So this gives you world-class support, customizable service level agreements, custom patches, security notifications, enhanced features, modules, and more. And you can see how you can license that here. You can also do Boxlang Plus Plus. That's our little joke here. To get even higher level of support, where we can review your product usage, and you can work with one of our language engineers in a dedicated consultation. And finally, we have a limited number of visionary licenses. So these are for those of you that want to really invest in Boxlang, a long-term investment here. You can reach out to us, click on this Get Information button that I'm trying to show, but it's not coming through.
No, I see it now.
Oh,
if
good.
You click on Visionary Licenses at the bottom.
Yes. And then yeah, you unleash the full potential and the full support of Boxlang and Ortus Solutions.
Yeah, you get unlimited licenses for 10 years.
That's right.
So imagine if you've got, 1,000 servers you need licenses for, imagine what kind of deal that's going to be. That's a good deal.
Is a good deal. Alrighty. Back to our Patreons. If you do subscribe, bronze level and up, you get that ForgeBox Pro and CFCast subscription. I feel like now that we have bronze, we should have, I don't know, we got to figure out something with Boxlang. Like if you're Boxlang plus, maybe we can do something similar. I don't know. We'll see that.
Bronze plus.
So, all the Patreon supporters have a profile badge on the community website, a private forum that they can access, as well as a private channel on the Box Team Slack. So,
And as always, go to community.ortusolutions.com.
well,
And
thank
so-
you all. We would not have been able to get here with Boxlang without everyone's support. Those of you that listen to the podcast, those of you that support us with code, pull requests, documentation, and of course our Patreons. Thank you everybody for making this possible. We're really excited about the future Boxlang is bringing.
I gotta say, this has really been a labor of love for everyone here. I mean, it's ambitious, and Luis is there at the forefront, the most ambitious of all, probably. But everybody's seeing people working on evenings and weekends, and just people aren't doing this because it's their job. We're doing it because we love to do it, and it shows in the people we talk to and the community, and it's great. It's something really special that you don't get with other places,
That's right.
other languages.
Well, we'd like to end today, as we always do, by thanking the top magnificent Patreons we have.
Oh yeah, can I go? Can I do it? Please
Let's do it.
Awesome. We got John Wilson with Synaptrix. We got Tomorrow's Guides. We got Jordan Clark. We got Gary Knight. We got Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Codd, James Mulberg, and Jeffrey McGee with Sunstar Media, Dean Maunder, Kevin Wright, Doug Kane, Nolan Irk, and Abdul Raheen. There are many more Patreons. We're up to 50 now. Those are just our top Patreons. And you can see an up-to-date list of all sponsors on the Ortus Solutions website, ortusolutions.com, about us, sponsors. We'll get that link out there.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you're as excited about Boxlang and all the other great announcements that came out Into the Box as we are. And we will see you soon, whether at CF Camp here or at CF Summit soon or at Into the Box next year.
We're going to have to get that webinar up soon. And since Luis is in the chat, Luis, when are we going to do it? Oh, we'll figure it out. But we're going to do it Into the Box recap of our Boxlang of just all the cool things you need to know.
That's awesome. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you later.
See ya. Thanks.
Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernize.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.